Hi everyone, today I'm making a paper patchwork quilt-like card, and I'm also using some pretty sparkly stickles on here. So there's the front and there's the inside. Alright, so stay tuned for the product lineup and we'll get started. Today I'll be using the Paper Patchwork Template, which has 6 different designs on it, and it's kind of a quilting pattern, so you can put these together on top of each other. They layer, and you'll get the resulting designs. It has a picture of each design and full instructions on here, so some really cute and fun patterns there. I'm also going to be using the Happy Days paper pack, which includes these 6 patterns, and you're getting 2 of each sheet. And they are also double-sided, so I'm going to show you both sides. So there's that one. This one's really cute with those banners across the corner. I do like this one a lot. Circles are fun. Some solids. This is one of my favorite patterns, is scallop. And an orange with yellow and white on the back. And then this one's sort of a denim or a herringbone texture. And on the back, some white and colorful circles. So this paper pack is very cheerful looking. And then finally I'm using the stickles in silver and turquoise. And this is one of my favorite things to add sparkle to a project. So let's get started. Now I'm starting with my 6.5 inch by 5 inch blank white card. And these come pre-made from Hot the Press, and you can get them in different amounts. So they have a 20 pack, they have a 10 pack, things like that. But first I want to kind of cut it down to make a square card today. So this is 5 inches wide, so I'm going to make it 5 inches long as well. So I'm going to cut it right here using my retractable X-Acto knife here. So just lining up my acrylic ruler with the metal edge, and that metal edge is important so that you don't accidentally slice into your ruler. And there we have a square card. I'm going to make the fold so that it's at the top. Next I'm going to go ahead and cover my card with the orange pattern, and I'm going to take my handy dandy glue stick here, cover the front with glue, and go ahead and line up a corner of the paper with the corner of the card. I'm gluing that down. And this is the basic technique I use to cover most of my cards. So that's all glued down. Now it's still attached to the rest of the paper, so I simply have to take my ruler again and make 2 cuts. One along this edge, so I kind of touch it here at the top and at the bottom to line up my ruler perfectly, and slice this way, and then rotate 90 degrees and another slice. And removing the excess paper, turn this over and you have your card perfectly covered. Taking my paper patchwork template now, I want to use this rounded orange peel pattern, and my card's going to end up looking similar to this design. So I'm going to use 4 of this pattern, and I'm going to use, out of the Happy Days paper pack, this piece of paper for the inner diamond. And for the outer circle, I'll be using the solid green, which is on the back of this paper. So I'll go ahead and turn this paper over, which is, it's easier to kind of see what you've traced here. But I'm going to go ahead and trace 4 each of this and this, and those will stack up together on the front of my card. And I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll show you the next step. Alright, so here are my total of 8 shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the diamonds over. And those are going to go right on top of the circles, just like that. And I'll glue those on. Now I've arranged these on my card, but I want the center diamond to also be this pattern. So I'm going to cut one of the circles out of that same paper. So this circle right here, and that will go in the center. I could cut a diamond, but to line that up perfectly with this little shape, it's more trouble than it's worth. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut a circle. Alright, so this will go behind all the circles and cover up that center hole, but I do like the orange peeking out kind of around the outer edge. Alright, so I'm going to glue all of these down together. Okay, so you might notice how my circles kind of jump off the edge of the card a little bit. That's a really easy fix. I'm going to just take my knife and my ruler again and simply line it up and trim off any of those excess pieces. And it might not be on all sides, but just the ones that are showing. Okay. There we go. So now I have some nice clean edges. Now I'm going to take this nice wide yellow crepe ribbon. This is coming from the Sunshine and Shadows ribbon set, which is not in today's bundle but can be ordered separately. I'm just going to tie a bow kind of in the middle of the ribbon. Loop over loop, and pulling through. Okay, so I kind of want a smallish bow, so I'm going to kind of pull the ends while pulling the loops at the same time. It's kind of got a technique to it, but you just kind of have to push and pull and adjust until you have it the way you want it. Now this bow is going to carry the greeting, so it's going to go on the card, kind of in the right, bottom right, kind of right there, and the greeting is going to be a small circle just below it. So I'm going to secure this to the card with some zips first of all. So here's my box of zips, which are these glue lines. And they come on a roll, so the roll has 2 glue lines on it. They're kind of continuous in these strips. So I'm just going to cut a strip about the width of the ribbon. And I just want to stick it where the ribbon's going to end, right on the edge of the card here. Now I just peel off the backing, and I have that, you'll see that sticky strip right there. So this is where you will now place the end of your ribbon carefully over the sticky strip. There we go. Alright. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now once both of these edges are stuck down, I can simply turn the card over and trim off the ends of the ribbon without worrying about fraying because they are stuck down securely by the zips along each end. Okay, so here's our card so far. Now this ribbon is kind of loose in the middle, so I'm going to go ahead and take some of these dots and secure that a little bit. And what you can do is take your point of your knife and kind of pick up one of these little sticky dots and slip it under the knot of the ribbon, and that way it'll stay where you want it to, and you can even jot down the loops as well. Now I've got this strip of extra cardstock from when I trimmed the card down to a square, and that's what I'm going to use to add my greetings. So I'm going to go back to the template here on the bottom right corner. It says round center. I'm going to go ahead and trace and cut out one of those circles, and that's going to hold my tiny greeting. For my greeting, I'm using the Just a Little Greeting stamp sets, and this has 32 acrylic stamps on it, and it's great for when you just have a little something you want to say on the front of the card, and you don't want it to kind of take away too much from the design. So on this little circle, I can fit this one. I'm going to put Just Because right there in the middle of the circle. So peeling off the backing, make sure to save the backing sheet to store your stamps. Peel off the stamp. I've got my acrylic block. This is the smallest one I have. Stick it on there, and I'm going to use Stays On Jet Black ink. Let's get this out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp here. And stamp in the center. And careful not to rock the stamp. There we go. Just because. Now I want to kind of edge the circle with black, so I'm going to go ahead and take the ink pad itself and just touch it to the ink pad, creating that nice black edge. Careful not to smudge it with your fingers, so let that dry for a second. Doesn't take long. And then I'm going to go ahead and take, this is the orange sheet, but on the back is that yellow pattern. I'm going to mat it on the yellow and leave just a little border around the edge. So I want to glue it down. Once I've glued it down, I'm just going to kind of block it out here and then cut around it. And I use small scissors. It just makes it easier for me anyway. I'm going to leave about an 1/8 inch border. Around the circle. There we go. Alright. Now I'll bring back my card. And that medallion is just going to go right down here. Now it's time to add some glittery accents. So I'm going to take the silver first, and I'm going to first test it on a paper towel. First I like to, doing this out of order, kind of wrap it on the table or shake it in the air so that all of the glue here kind of falls to the tip or to the top of the bottle. Test it out, make sure it's working, and no matter what you do, you probably always get little bubbles that kind of explode when you try to use this, but we just try to do the best we can. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and outline my medallion with this. I like to turn my card so that I'm always kind of dragging the point of the stickles. It just makes it easier for me. Alright, so that part's done. I'm going to go ahead and add some more accents to the rest of the card, and I'll show you. Okay, so I'm done adding my stickles, and that completes the front of my card. So what I've done is just a dotted, kind of a stitched line. Since this is a quilting sort of pattern, I thought stitching was appropriate, so I did a stitched line around the outer edge of all of the green circles, and I didn't bother to go under the ribbon, of course, just to make it easier on myself. And then with the turquoise stickles, I filled in each of the diamonds on this pattern paper that was a light blue. And you can choose whichever diamonds you want to fill in, but as I kind of turn the card, you can see those glittery bits just popping out at you, which is what I wanted. So now we are done with the front of the card. Now I want to glue some shapes to the inside, so I've already traced another circle on this yellow pattern paper, and I'm going to place this over this circle, kind of lining it up with the red circle here, and trace this shape on top. And you'll see why I do this in a second. So when I take that out, you can see the circle with these sort of leaf shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out those 4 leaf shapes, and those are going to be some accents on the inside of my card. So that's what the cutout shapes look like. I'm going to set this diamond aside and on back to the card. And as a side note, make sure to let this dry with plenty of time, because the stickles do not dry very fast. So at least a couple hours, best overnight, just to be safe, but always kind of touch it a tiny bit to test it to see if it's truly dry before you handle it. On the inside of my card, I've already covered it with that same yellow pattern, and with these little leaf shapes, what I'm going to do is simply glue them to the corners. Now before I do that, I want another pattern to be kind of in the very, very corner. So I'm going to use the same blue circle pattern for that area, and it's easy to kind of get the correct triangle just by measuring in on one side. It's about 1 1/8 inches, so if you double that, that'll be 2 1/4 inches. So I'm going to cut a 2 1/4 inch square from the navy blue paper. So here's my square, and this is what I'm talking about when I say navy blue. It's got the navy blue circles on it, so but it's actually a colorful pattern. So I'm going to turn this 45 degrees on its point, and just make sure this point is along the same line as this point, and simply take my ruler, line it up with those points, and cut with my knife along that line. I'm just going to lift my ruler, I'm not going to lift my paper, and then take my ruler this way and simply make another cut going straight from point to point in this direction. Okay, so now I have 4 triangles. They're perfect for the 4 corners of my card. So if we open it up, here's how one of the corners will look. I'll place my triangle there, and then my leaf shape. Oops. So it looks like my triangle's a bit too big. I must have had the measurements slightly off, but what I can do is simply trim off a tiny bit of each triangle to fit exactly with the leaf shape, and that's going to be the same for all 4 corners. So I'm just going to scoot down my triangle so this point ends up the same as the leaf. Let's see. Right about there. Okay. So I can cut off the rest of the excess here, and the same for all the other 4, or the other 3. Alright, so there are all my 4 corners finished. Now I'm just going to put a tiny little greeting in the inside, and it's going to be hello. So same thing, just ink up the stamp. And when you have a tiny stamp and a kind of a larger block like this, I like to put the stamp in the center of the block so that it doesn't risk kind of falling to one side. So the hello is going to be here, right at the top. There we go. And that is our inside greeting. I'm going to add a few more details with the stickles and then we'll be done. Alright, so this is what I've done. I've just done the stitching, kind of similar to the front, just around the rounded orange edge here. Same on all four corners. So that completes the inside of my card, and I can write my personalized greeting in the center here, so I've left plenty of space for that. Alright, so now I'm finished with my card and I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the bundle. There's tons of great savings on the products used on this card, and just to give you a review of the front, and there's the inside. Alright, stay tuned and I'll see you again next week. First in the bundle we have the Stickles glitter glue in both silver and turquoise. And these are pretty small, compact bottles, so they don't take up a lot of space in your craft stash, but they last a long time, and a little goes a long way with these things. And they add lots of bling and sparkle, which is why I love them. And of course, you're getting the Paper Patchwork Template like we saw in the beginning, and it comes with 6 different designs, these quilting designs. We have the pinwheel, the orange peel, hexagon, Dresden, 8-pointed star, and sawtooth star. And of course it has all the instructions on here. And finally the paper pack, which is double-sided, so the herringbone texture with the really cheerful white circles on the back, orange, yellow on the back. Then we have a solid red, which does have a slight texture to it, so it's not too boring, with this scallop on the back. The tiny navy blue circle pattern with a nice pretty green texture. All over chevrons and red dot. And finally that pretty corner accent with the banners and chevrons across the top border. And this has got a solid light blue texture, and on the back green with cute little dotted circles. So that's today's bundle, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.